Food is more than just what's on our plate. It's the places where it's grown, it's the people who grow it, and so much more. Join me, Janice Person, your host, on Grounded by the Farm every other week as we talk about the foods we love. Wow, I hope you're as excited about talking about ham and learning about ham as I was as I talked to DeeDee Darden out of Smithfield, Virginia. DeeDee and her husband, Tommy, have been doing salt cure and smoked hams, traditionally the way their family's done it for generations. To have a chance to go over and see her, visit that farm, see what they're doing, really is an amazing opportunity. Now, this is going to be a little bit different than some of the other episodes. DeeDee and her husband actually don't produce the pork that they smoke. She's going to explain some of that as we go through the podcast, but they grow corn and cotton and they have cattle. She also loves helping other people get to know farming and food, and so she hosts lots of school groups. We showed some of that in the video, but this is really an in-depth conversation with DeeDee, talking about what they're doing, how their family has been doing this for years, and you're going to tell I had an incredible time. Lots of laughter and love when you're at DeeDee's house. I hope you enjoy the conversation half as much as I did, and happy holidays.
My husband says that we live in God's country, and I really do believe that because we are rural, we're out in the country, but yet we're 5 miles from a nice little town, downtown Smithfield, but yet we're 30 to 45 minutes away from any cultural event, baseball game, or anything we want to do in the Tidewater area like Norfolk, Portsmouth, Virginia Beach. So it's perfect where we live. We don't have a lot of traffic, and that's what's so good about us.
I didn't remember you being so far off of the interstate from the last time I came, but as I came out last night, it was dark, and you go across a bridge or two, and you do some driving to get here.
Well, you do, but it's a destination, and it's worth the trip to get out here to come to Darden's Country Store.
Exactly. Well, I've been before, and as soon as I found out I was doing a speaking engagement in Virginia, I went, hot dang, I'm going to go get some ham.
All right, and we're glad to have you back. We're glad to have you back, Janice.
So now, tell me what all you guys are growing.
Well, on the farm, we cut back our acres a few years ago. My husband's not in the best of health.
Yeah.
So we had to think about what else are we going to do. So we're still farming because that's something that if we stop farming, I'm afraid we'd stop.
Yeah.
Because it's something in our blood and something we want to do and something we want to continue. So now we're just, last year we just grew corn and cotton. We have somebody else harvest our crops, but we can get it all planted and we can get it all sprayed and get it all done.
Yeah.
But then somebody else comes in and does the harvest for us, and that helps out with us a lot because from October, November, December, we're either in the pumpkin patch or we're in the smokehouse or in the store. So what we've done, we've maybe expanded some of the things that we've done in the store because we know that people like to come and get good food. They like to have it already prepared for them. So we've kind of expanded on some of those things that we're doing in the store.
Yeah. I'm going to take video inside the store when we finish this up because I think for a lot of us, we haven't seen a country store like this, with Ziploc bags of chocolate-covered peanuts and stuff. You guys make a lot of your own foods here. What I think you're known most for is the hams.
Yeah, definitely the hams that we're known for. And years ago, we started custom cooking hams. So people don't have to buy a whole 20-pound ham. They can buy a pound or two or half pound. Or let's say I want 50 ham biscuits on a platter for a breakfast, Sunday morning. And we can do all that for people. We want it ready when we want it, and we wanted somebody else to do it for us.
Yeah.
And so we're providing that service.
I love it. And I noticed your daughter was back in the kitchen.
Yeah, it's a family event. We've got great people that help us. Our grandson comes in and helps wash the hams when we prepare them. Some of our grandchildren, our girls, will come in and help in the afternoons and bag up chocolate peanuts or slice ham when they're home. So it's a family event, and it's great because the kids get a good work ethic, we think. And we just like having them around too, and we like seeing them work for us. Good help.
Even the babies are in the store off and on, right?
Our 2-year-old granddaughter the other day, when the phone rings, somebody will say, "I got it," and she the other day said, "I got it." So it won't be long; she'll be starting taking ham orders. But anyway, so we've been joking on that a lot.
At 2, I'm not sure her math skills are quite there yet.
Sometimes she might take better orders than we do because we get confused as well.
Well, now tell me, so you're in the Smithfield area, and Smithfield and Virginia hams and stuff like that. Like, I think that's part of the mystique of this area. Like, the food culture is really critical, right?
Well, Smithfield hams really started back in the 20s and really put a name. Well, hams have always been famous coming from Virginia, but in the early 20s, when everybody on the farm had peanuts, so the mystique was to let the hogs go out and eat the peanuts that were left over in the field, and then became known as a peanut-fed Smithfield ham. They put that in it was a law in the legislature of Virginia that it had to be a peanut-fed hog. Then cultures changed. People didn't have a lot of hogs anymore. They didn't peanut feed them. So then they had to go back and change the law and say it just had to be a ham that was cured in the town limits of Smithfield.
Okay.
That means that it was smoked and processed in the town limits of Smithfield. So it was like a mystique around it that it came from a certain area and a certain way it was prepared. But basically, any ham, I think, from Virginia is a good ham. And most of the hams in this area are salt cured. That means that we put them in salt for a certain amount of days for the salt to go in and penetrate the meat, and then that's what cures a ham, is the salt. Some areas might put a sweet flavoring or sugar-coated or things like that, but ours are salt-cured, they're smoked. We put a good dose of pepper on the exterior of the ham, and that's basically, I tell people they have everything at their dining room table to cure a ham. You got salt and you got pepper, and that's basically what you need, and a good raw ham to begin with.
So not everybody has cured their own meat. So you just skipped right past a whole bunch of stuff I have questions about. But curing meats means you won't have to have it refrigerated.
That's right.
So smoke curing, salt curing, that helps
the salt process is as old as anything. And actually the Indians, I read some books that the Indians traded salt and they called it magic sand. And when you think about it, it looks like sand, but they knew that it had curative properties. And then I think years ago, you'll see pictures of Indians and how they would smoke meat.
Yeah.
And I think they did that too as a way of preservation. And also the humidities here in Virginia are horrendous.
Ooh. Yeah.
And so I think that was all part of that process. And, things that we know now and that we do with hams is something that's been going on for generations and generations. And we're just carrying on the traditions.
Yeah. So was this something your family did or Tommy's family?
It was something that Tommy's family did. Back in the 40s, they bought a farm about 5 miles down the road, and they bought that, and he farmed it. But he always wanted to run a store on a crossroads. And back then, back in the 40s, 50s, there was a store on every crossroads. So they sold the farm down the road thinking, there's no way we can pay for 2 farms, and came here to the crossroads. Back in the early 50s, they built the store on one corner, the smokehouse is on the other corner, our home is on one corner, and on the other corner is a cow pasture / parking lot that we use when the children come in October for hay rides. So we joke and say that we have the market cornered right here at Darden's Country Store. But back then in the 50s, they started curing meats. He also sold corn fertilizer and seed.
Yeah.
So it was a one-stop shop. Back then everybody was in agriculture. So people could come, they could shop in the grocery store, they could charge on their accounts, get their corn seed, get their fertilizer, and then in the fall they'd settle up their accounts. We think it's really neat that still today that we have some of the same children, grandchildren, and a few of the people, a lot of them are dying off now, but they dealt with Mr. Darden back when he opened the store back in the 50s.
Yeah, that's amazing. I actually lived in a part of Mississippi where you could eat lunch every day and then pay it off.
Right.
Whether it's once a month or whatever. Or if you got too crazy and you'd charge way too much, they might say, hey, let's go ahead and get a check written this week.
They sold gasoline, and we've got, he kept everything in a Blue Horse notebook, was just a daily ledger. So let's say it would say December 1st, let's say Joe Blow got $1 worth of gas and maybe 20 cents worth of eats. Yeah. And that's how he would list it. And that might have been bologna and cheese and crackers. But that's what he had for his lunch, 20 cents worth of eats. So, and that, we think that's really funny to go back and look at those.
That's really, I think that's a part of Americana that a lot of Americans have never experienced because so many of us end up going into places where you have to have that charge card before you take the food away from a counter even in some places.
We used to have a family that would come here on Saturdays. The guy would bring his 3 or 4 children in, and they would come and shop around the store, and they'd get hot dogs, and they would eat them. And they're like, you don't have to pay for it first before we eat it? And we're like, no, y'all eat and then come up and tell us what you got.
You may need some water.
You might need some more. And they would do that, and they were like flabbergasted that they could do that, and they didn't have to pay for it before they actually got anything. So we joke about that a lot.
Well, it even happened at my pizzeria when I was living in New York. So it's not only in small town America, it's neighborhoods and things like that. Tell me the process of salt curing. How does that work, and where do you get the ham since you don't grow the pigs yourself?
Right. We have one pig. His name is Carl, and he is a potbelly pig that somebody gave me years ago. So Carl is one of the attractions that we have here for the kids in the fall. But we get all our hams from Smithfield Foods.
Okay.
We get all our fresh hams. We have a great relationship with Smithfield that we can get our salt, our pepper, and all our needs. And we've been doing that for years and years. The main hurdle that we have, being a small business, is that all our meat needs to be USDA inspected. So that's one hurdle that we've already passed when we get the meat from Smithfield. And we like getting the meat from Smithfield because it's a good quality ham. And if you start with a good quality piece of meat, or raw piece of meat, when the hogs have been fed well, we find that you'll get a good piece of ham in the end. The product will be great. So we get our hams. We can call up and say, we normally do around 1,000 hams a year now.
Oh my God.
We did about 1,150 hams, I think, this past year. Most we've ever done, which I'm glad we did because it's worked out good for ourselves. But anyway, we will get the fresh hams, about 500 hams 1 week. Again, my grandson comes into play, and all his boys that are football players and think they are strong as oxes.
Yeah.
They come in and help us and handle these hams. The hams will weigh anywhere from 25 to 30-some pounds, a raw ham. So they're a lot bigger than they used to be. So we take the raw ham, we will sprinkle it with sodium nitrate. That helps to get some of the blood out of the ham and to draw that out. It helps make it have a red color during that process. And then we pack it in salt. We've got a salt box that we'll put the ham in and smother it in salt. Then we lay it on a pile with other hams. And we'll have 500 hams laying in a pile of salt. So we'll have a layer of ham, a layer of salt, a layer of ham, a layer of salt. When you walk in there, it looks like it snowed on this pile of meat because it is a lot of salt.
I remember going in there before, and I told you it was kind of like I heard the angels calling to me. It's
or as some people would say, it looks like a heart attack waiting to happen with all that salt. But the salt is the most essential product of the whole process. So the rule of thumb is that a ham stays in salt for every day for a pound of meat. So if you started off with a 20-pound ham, you leave it in salt for 30 days, a day and a half per pound of meat. So their hams are bigger, so we're leaving them in salt for about 42 days now.
Right.
Once we take them out of salt, we rinse them off in warm water, and then we coat them in black pepper. The black pepper is just a bug deterrent. Put a string on the hock, which is actually the kneecap of the hams, and then we hang them up. We'll start in the top rafters, then we'll work our way to the bottom rafters, and then that's done in mid-March, and we like for those hams to kind of neutralize a little bit, and then sometime in April, we will come in there and make a smoke. We've got an old barrel, and we like to use a mixture of hickory and apple wood, and we'll get the fire going in there in the barrel. We'll kind of put the lid down, and we just want a smoldering smoke. We'll put it in one room for a couple of days and move it to another room. There's no set rule on smoking meat. It just depends on how busy we are getting ready to plant something or do something in the fields. But a good rainy day like today would have been a great day to have smoked meat because that smoke kind of lingers and it clings to the hams real well. It gives the ham that dark amber color that it has that makes it look so attractive, and it just helps it dry out a little bit.
Yeah.
Then we don't like to really cook a ham until, Tommy used to always say, the 4th of July. It needs to go through a heat process. So normally the weather will warm up in June, the first part of July, and then when it goes through that heat, we feel like then that the ham is it's like a good wine. It's had enough time to kind of age and cure, and then you could take one down. So if we started cooking a ham in July, it would have a nice light pink color. It would be a mild flavor, and it would be great on a sandwich with a fresh tomato out of the garden.
Yeah.
And with a little bit of mayonnaise on some white bread.
You throw some potato salad on the side.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm there.
And so then as the ham ages, it will tend to dry out a little bit. And then right now for like November and December, the hams have a deep red color. And that salt taste is more present. And it's just really what we think of as a Smithfield ham.
Yeah.
And we can't call our hams a Smithfield because we're not cured in the town limits. But we say it's a Tommy Darden ham, which makes it even better.
Well, people who've met Tommy obviously would agree. He is the man behind the store now, right?
That's right.
It's amazing process from the time you start your hams. So you start them early in the year, and then most of them you sell over the holidays. So how many months do you have a ham before you sell it?
Well, we've started to get them in January and February, and the bulk of them are sold in November and December. So it's almost a total year. And then we like to have some hams left over too after Christmas, because people still buy ham every day. Yeah. I mean, it's not like they eat it one time a year. And that's the beauty part of what we do with the convenience, is that you can come in and buy a pound or a half a pound. You don't have to buy a whole ham. And so we have a lot of people that do that, and they buy ham all the time. Yeah. Special event comes up. I tell people you can't have a good wedding or a good funeral without a ham biscuit. It's just, it's just you got to have it. And
that's funny, because my mom's cousin, Dot, would have agreed totally. Baby showers, wedding showers, anything, there was a ham biscuit available.
Yeah, it is. And it's it's just something that you grew up with and something you expect, when a special event,
right,
that you have to have a ham biscuit.
Yeah.
So, and that's certainly, people say, oh, well, so-and-so died and I need a tray of biscuits. Okay, we got it. We can take care of it. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I noticed you guys have them where people can come in and just pick up a stack of them. A guy came in and just picked up a whole handful. I don't know how many fit in his hands. But
it's just a perfect little snack for in the morning. It gets you going. You better get a bottle of water to go with it. But it is a salty ham, but it's a great little snack. So, and we charge $1 for a ham biscuit. So you can't. I don't know where you're going to go and find something, a staple like that, and something good for $1.
Yeah.
But we do that, and people love it.
I love it. A lot of hams, they'll just say it's like hickory smoke cured or something like that. Do those take as long as a salt cured?
And so many packing plants now are going to a more short cured. Mm-hmm. It's like 3 months.
Okay.
They want a quick turnaround. 3 months in, 3 months in. 3 months.
A quick turnaround.
That is a quick turnaround. 3 months in, 3 months out. But ours is more. It's just it's an artisan type thing, and it's just something that it's just a tradition. You wouldn't sell one of our hams in 3 months.
Yeah.
It just would not have the flavor. It would not have the color. It just we wouldn't do it. It's just we take a lot of pride in the product that we put out, and we wouldn't do that. But, for those people that like something like that, that's great. If people like honey cured ham and all that kind of stuff. But what we do is a salt cured traditional type ham is what people used to do on the farm.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to continue to do.
Yeah. No, I love it. And some of it is shaved like paper thin over there. Like really thin. And some of it is like a ham steak.
And we believe in slicing it thin.
Okay.
A lot of people say, oh, I want it thicker. Well, we might try to do it thicker, but we don't like to cut them for a ham steak. We do it one way.
Yeah.
And that's terrible. We do it our way because we think that's the best way. But, we have cured a few hams in our day, so we think slicing it thin is the way to go. You can stack it up, once you get it home, but we're going to slice it thin and package it up so that when you take it home, you can open it up. All you've got to do is open up the paper and start eating. So it's all done and ready for you. So we took all the work out of it.
I love it. So who are the folks that buy your hams?
We are so lucky that we have people from all over Tidewater buy hams from us. We don't do a lot of shipping of hams. We do a little bit, but they'll come from at least 2 hours away. I say local is from Richmond to Virginia Beach, and we're kind of in the middle of that.
Yeah.
So we have people that come from all over. People will call up and say, I'm coming over to your store. I want a cooked ham, and I'd like it picked up on such and such a day. And we do it. We have it ready for them when they get here. And hopefully they'll buy some other goodies when they get here as well. And because we've expanded a lot of the things that we do in the store, we're finding that it's a whole lot easier to make money in that store than it is out there in that acre. So
it's really interesting that more farmers are finding off-farm ways to make money, and some friends tell me that they do those other things to support their farming habits.
Yep, that's exactly right. I would certainly agree with that. We started out years ago with agritourism. That was always the buzzword. So as you know, I can talk. And
I've heard.
It is a rumor, but so I decided I'm going to put my mouth to best use, and I'm going to talk about agriculture.
Yeah.
And I want to reach a young audience they're fascinated by things out here when they come out here.
You open up that sense of wonder, and you can see it in kids' eyes.
When they get off that school bus and they'll see a tractor or a combine or a cotton picker or anything like that, or a cow or anything, they're like, oh my gosh, deer in the headlights, and you got to keep them focused. So we started out in October. We send out letters in the fall when the kids go back to school to the teachers and say, this is what we're doing. We're doing hay rides. And we have schools from all over the surrounding area that come here to the farm. When the school kids get off the school bus, we put them on a hay wagon. We've got three trailers. We put the kids on a hay ride. We go by the cow pasture. We have a meet and greet with the cows. The cows will come up to the fence and
what kind of cattle do you have?
We have some black Angus and red Angus.
Okay.
And we've got several that are very friendly, and they'll come up and eat right out of your hand and lean over the fence. And the kids are reaching on. They're all squealing and screaming, and everybody is so excited to see a cow for the first time. Then we'll take them to the pumpkin patch. Everybody gets a pumpkin. Then we have some donkeys and goats and sheep. We ride by there and stop and talk to them. And then they can come back to the store. And for the kids that are like in kindergarten or first grade, we think that's a great target audience. We have a little program about where your food comes from.
Okay.
We start off with a box of cornflakes, a box of cat food, a candle with soybeans in it. I have a whole list of things that we pull out.
Yeah.
And I end up with a pair of the biggest underwear that I can find because all their clothing comes from cotton. And the kids always get a laugh about that, but it's something that they remember.
Yeah.
It was real funny. A parent came by. He said, yes, I still have soybeans at home, and my children told me that my mayonnaise comes from soybeans. And, the kids remember. And
they love that they've got something, and chances are their parents didn't know some of the stuff they learned. So
I find that I teach the parents sometimes as much as I do the school children.
Yeah.
But we have a little corn maze. We have hay land that they can jump on bales of hay. We've got an old cotton trailer that we put cotton in. Nobody usually has that experience of a real cotton that they can get in a trailer and jump in the cotton. We've got a little petting zoo. We got all kinds of things that they can take pictures and everything. But so we do that the whole month of October. Weekends we do hay rides with families, and it's just a busy, busy time. So then
I can see now why you don't harvest your own crops.
Yeah, we don't have time. So we jump from pumpkins into hams. So November and December then are ham time, and then in January I rest.
You deserve it by then.
I do deserve it by then.
So now you're telling me you're cooking up the hams for folk after they've been cured and everything, and they come out of the smokehouse. How do you cook them up?
All right. Well, basically, and the hams will have mold on them. We've heard horror stories that people have thrown hams away that will have mold. But mold is just part of the process. Where in that smokehouse, it might be a rainy day, and then they'll get a little mold on them. But that mold is superficial. So we take the hams, we'll wash them in warm water, we'll scrub that black pepper, and get them.
My mom always just told me cut the mold off.
Oh, it washes right off. Take a good scrub brush. Like my grandson and a friend of his, they're my ham washers this time of year. So we clean the hams up. We put them in a pot. I have really feel like I've died and gone to heaven. I have my own ham cooking room now, and I have a steam pot that I can cook either 8 large hams or 10 small hams in.
Oh my God!
And we put them in that, and so we put them in a water bath, so they cook in boiling water. We'll cook the hams for about 3.5 hours, and then I like for them to rest in that warm water for another 3 hours because most of those hams I'm going to debone.
Yeah.
So that heat kind of helps go through it and get all the tendons and everything. So then we'll take the hams up and I debone them. We wrap them back up in plastic, and then the next day we can slice them. We put them on a meat slicer. We can slice them really thin. But now we've gotten so that we keep the liquor, the pot liquor, or the ham juice or broth or whatever you want to call it. But around here it's called pot liquor.
Yeah.
So we take the pot liquor. We're actually selling the pot liquor in quart jars. And then we're also cooking collard greens in the ham liquor. Most people don't want the collard greens because they stink up their house or whatever.
Yeah,
but,
I have to say, cooking collard greens is different than enjoying eating collard greens.
Yeah, we have one lady that comes and helps us, and she's our collard stripper. So she doesn't have a pole, but she just has a sharp knife. She gets all the stems out of the collard greens, and then we wash them up really good, and then we put them back in that pot, and I can cook a little over 9 bushels of collards at one time in my ham pot. So So it is green heaven when all those collards are cooking in that pot, and then we take them up, let them cool, and then again we put those in quarts, and people love them. I mean, people are coming over here buying 4 and 5 quarts at a time. They got a big family gathering at Thanksgiving, Christmas, and so again, it's a convenience thing that we're doing that other people don't have to do.
Right. Kitchen has to be certified,
yes.
or
we have
it's
to
inspected at some
yes.
point.
The Virginia Department of Agriculture comes and inspects our kitchen. We have to ensure that we're doing it right, and it's makes sure it's safe for the consumer.
Making sure you keep things to the sanitary level and things like that. Right.
But we also cheese in the wheels. It's like a 22-pound round of cheese. And not for the faint of heart, but it's a good Wisconsin cheese, and we do that now. So we make our own pimento cheese. We have a hot and a regular pimento cheese. We make chicken salad, ham and Swiss quiche, macaroni and cheese, and so we do all that.
Y'all didn't have all that a few years ago
and we make homemade chicken pot pies. So we have all that, and an assortment of pies. And when people come out, they just load up and shop because they may not have to hardly cook anything for a meal, or a chicken pot pie makes a great gift for somebody who just got home from the hospital or somebody who's not feeling good. And we're finding most of us have everything we ever need in our life. So why not give them some food as a gift?
Yeah, exactly. It's funny because my nieces and nephews, we've long given them food for Christmas and the holidays and stuff. And it may be their favorite restaurant that we're going to go out to, or something that they don't get very often, or a special food from another place that they've traveled once to or something. So it does seem consumables. Idea of getting more and more things is less popular, right?
Well, it is. And I started that with my grandchildren last year. Instead of giving them something that they don't need, we did an experience. I took all my grandkids to see The Lion King.
Oh, love it.
And they loved it. And they liked that memory and things like that. And so, food is kind of a memory thing, whether it's peanuts, chocolate peanuts, or an assortment of whatever the goodies, peach buds, Christmas candy.
Yeah.
All those things evoke memories for people.
Yeah.
Food is we have people that come into the smokehouse. Sometimes they'll just stick their head in and smell because it reminds them of their grandfather's smokehouse.
Yeah.
And that just evokes a special memory for people. So it's amazing the connection of food and your memory and your parents or grandparents. So it's just a wonderful combination.
There's so much love kind of in that process. You don't always feel like you get that if you stop off at a store and buy things where you don't know the owners or something.
Right.
It doesn't mean it's less special, but, sometimes it doesn't it hit the same emotions maybe.
Well, and we've got people that have been coming out here for 25 years probably buying hams from Tommy. And they come every year on a certain day. They bring their children there. They bring their grandchildren. And they see our children and grandchildren. And it's just, we only see them once a year, but it's just a special occasion when they come because it's that bond that you've got, that food that ties you together. So
yeah, and that's a lot about what I'm trying to do with this podcast is get more people to realize how many farmers feel that deep connection to food as well. The way you interface with people is primarily in the store, but your daughter runs your Facebook page and stuff, so you do some of it online.
Yeah, I'm a talker, but I'm not a technical person, but my daughter is, and it is amazing the power of Facebook. Social media and everything that she does. So she does all that. And, we used to advertise in a local newspaper and, try to support local businesses. And we still try to. But we found that one post on Facebook with that mural behind the store that depicts pumpkins and corn and real fall stuff, people would take a picture and put that on Facebook. And it was like, it went viral. It was, it was amazing for us, the number of people that we reached the month of October when people would look up pumpkin patch. And it's like, for us out here in the middle of nowhere to reach over 70,000 people is pretty amazing.
With a picture.
With a picture. And so, it's mind-boggling for me the number of people that we reach through social media. It's fantastic.
Yeah. And that many more people then can understand if their family wants to come out and give this a go. So other people could make it a family vacation in the fall.
That's right. That's right.
You don't have to be from the area.
No, and we have people that come over they'll drive an hour and a half to come out here to go to buy a pumpkin at the pumpkin patch. But they're like, this is the real deal. And like, yes, we are the real deal. You've got pumpkins growing in the field.
Yeah.
They're not up on a pallet somewhere. We're the real deal. We grow them, we raise them, we nurture them, we watch them every day. So yes, we are the real deal.
How did you get into the educational part of this and stuff of working with kids? It seems like you're just personally passionate about it. And
it started from passion because I've been on a lot of boards. I was on the National Peanut Board. I've been on local corn boards, the national corn growers. It was such a disconnect with people didn't understand where their food comes from.
We've got a doggy bite.
People did not know where their food came from, and it was such a disconnect, and people didn't understand about farming. No, it's not a hobby for us.
Right.
It's a lifetime passion, and it's work, and it's family, and it's tradition. And so we wanted to try to share some of that with people for them to understand that where their food does come from. The last thing I tell the children, that everything you eat, wear, touch, use every day starts with a farmer just like me.
Yeah.
And I want them to have a face with what they're eating.
Right.
I want them to have a connection that you don't go to the grocery store and it's going to be on that shelf all the time, because it's not.
So you could be the face of hams.
Well, yes, I could be the face of
you
hams.
and Tommy.
We could be. But I just, and I'm very passionate about agriculture and about what we do. And I just feel like we have a wonderful story to tell, and we're doing a poor job telling it sometimes.
Right. There's so many different ways to tell the story of agriculture and things. I mean, you were mentioning you buy the biggest pair of underwear you can find. I saw some people are doing this Soil Your Undies challenge where you take big pairs of underwear and you bury it underneath the soil. And then you wait for the microbes and stuff. And it shows how the soil is healthy or not, right? Like if the cotton is being eaten away, polyester doesn't get eaten away at the same way. So it shows sort of that environmental connection. And I think there are a lot of unique ways to do that. I want to see what all you're doing over there, and we can share that on some videos so folks get a better idea of it. Not everybody gets to come to Darden Country Store, sadly. Not all of our hams come from Tommy and DeeDee. So if you were buying a store ham, what would you look for so you could find a good ham? Because that's what you were saying a minute ago, good hams.
I would look for a nice round ham that's got some shape to it.
Okay.
Because unfortunately the hams, if you buy a small ham, it might have a big bone in it, so you're buying a lot of bone and skin.
Yeah.
I would look for a nice round ham with some shape.
Okay.
And most of the time now you're going to find a 12, 13-pound ham, but if that's what you want, that's fine. But I would look for a bigger ham with a little bit of fat on it. Fat means flavor.
Yeah.
That's what I would look for. Something
Okay.
with some round shape and a little bit of fat on it, and that should make a good ham.
Okay. And how would you cook that?
Well, some people like to cook it in the oven because they don't have a big enough pot to cook it in. But the traditional method here is to boil them in water. So I would put it in a pot, put it on the stove, and have a slow boil for about, usually it's 15 minutes to 20 minutes per pound of ham.
Okay.
Cook that little thing for about 3.5 hours.
You don't have to worry about that drying out.
No, you don't. But I think it needs a little bit of moisture to restore it, so that's why we like to cook it in the water. And then take it out. When that little bone pops on the bottom, it's like a little turkey timer. It's ready. I would cook it that way, and then you can't go wrong.
So besides slicing it up and putting it on biscuits and stuff, what are some of your other favorite ways of eating ham?
The best way, I think, to eat ham is right out of the pot when it's warm and all those juices are in it. Not everybody gets to do that, too. I just think that bring a ham to room temperature, and any way you like to eat it, it's good.
Yeah.
Either on a good yeast roll or on a sandwich. It's always good no matter what you do with it.
And I always think you keep the bones around, you keep the scraps around, and you keep using that in other things for the next few days.
That's right. Yeah. Somebody said 2 people and a ham is like eternity, and it is, and that's again why more people are buying it by the pound or sliced or something like that, because it's
smaller households.
Yeah, and people don't eat like we used to. We don't have big families anymore.
Yeah.
But ham is good any kind of way you want to fix it. So it's just good.
All right. I think that's going to finish us up. Thanks a lot, DeeDee.
Thank you, Janice, so much for coming out.
As you can tell, I had a lot of laughter, a lot of fun with DeeDee. She always keeps you thinking, But I really cannot get over how much I learned about the process of salt curing and smoking hams. The photographs of this place, so I've been there a couple of times. Once it was like February or March when she was talking about how many hams they've brought in. More recently, though, it was early December as I did this interview. So I've got photos of early in the process as well as in the high delivery period. All that photo and video is up on the website, groundedbythefarm.com. You can check it out there. As we're doing with other episodes, we're trying to do a little bit of a preview so you can have the photos and images in your mind as people explain some of the information that we're going to be talking about. Those photos and videos are a lot shorter than the podcast. The depth of conversation really is here, and I appreciate so many farmers willing to take this time. Thank you so much. Happiest of holidays to you and yours. And we'll be back in 2 weeks with a new episode of Grounded by the Farm. Thank you.